Welcome to Coffee Meets Cloud, where three women in tech come together to share real stories about leadership, life, and everything in between. Join our hosts, Karami McCollum.
In other news, these headphones, I'm going to have to do something else. I am on fire.
Cassandra Parker.
It's pretty basic. We have to stay fully caffeinated in order to do all the things that we do.
And Rachel Rogers.
I don't know if we can survive this. I feel like this one goes in the vault.
Your go-to source for candid conversations and unfiltered insights. So, grab your coffee, pull up a chair, and join the chaos.
Welcome back to Coffee Meets Cloud, where we talk about everything, including the kitchen sink.
Hey, especially the kitchen sink.
We are back.
I want to call out one thing. I have realized since listening to these episodes many times, because if you guys don't know, we're doing our own editing, our own social media clips, all the things, right? Like this is a 3-woman band you've got going on here. Every single intro, Karami says, "Welcome back to Coffee Meets Cloud." It's the way you say it, and it's every single time. It's exactly the same. And I just have to laugh.
I am nothing if not reliable. Okay?
Consistent. It's consistent.
Come to me for consistency.
This is not a recording, except it is.
Right. Well, how are y'all doing? It's good to see you.
Good. Busy. It's been crazy. Like
kids are back in school.
And getting back into the routine and like understanding that school is 5 days long. So the question every morning of, is today Saturday? What day is it? Can we be done now? I'm like, nobody. I wish, but no. We can't.
In some respects, we thrive on routine around here. And then in other ways, it is devastating to be on a routine. So
we have Jamie's job has recently picked up in more travel. And so it's also made things interesting, right? Because now you've got a different routine, right? And the days he's home versus the days he's gone, like it just introduces complexity. And then like this week, I was gone for a few days because I was in New York for work. And so those like changes in routines. And then we had one of our dogs, Winston, unfortunately had a couple seizures last week. So he had to get on seizure medication. So remembering to do that twice a day and adding that into like, the mornings I feel are always the worst because it's like everybody's trying to get where they need to go and you got to get ready and the whole thing. So adding that just like one little thing in the morning when you're trying to like reestablish routines has become quite a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the kids went back to school on a Friday. So this week, or right here when we're recording, is only the second, tomorrow will be the second full week of school. And we already got an email from the teacher wanting a parent-teacher conference about our oldest. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to try not to get emotional because I think all parents can understand no matter how much I'm not one of those parents that thinks my kid can do no wrong. My kid's perfect. Like, why do you have issue with my kid? I know all the things. I live with him. Okay. But you still feel defensive I shouldn't speak for everybody. It's hard not to feel like it's a personal attack on our parenting when anyone is giving us, and I don't even want to call it criticism because the meeting, feedback, that's better. The meeting was fine. It covered everything we expected it to because this is not our first rodeo. It's related to the ADHD. It's a concentration problem. Not really concentration, but pivoting problem, distracted problem. But when you're sitting there in a meeting, you're looking at your kid, then you're looking at the teacher, you're looking back at your kid, you're like praying this is not going to give him a complex. You're trying to figure out how this is landing. And I just don't know, like, I'm a parent. Okay. I'm not an educator. I'm not a psychologist. So when a teacher says to me or to us, let's figure out what we can do differently in the classroom to help him, while I appreciate the openness and the positive spin on the conversation, I'm also like, what am I supposed to say to you? I'm not an expert in either field. And your environment at school is night and day different than an environment at home.
Mm-hmm.
What works for us is inherently not necessarily going to work for you. my child is not designed to sit at his desk and, like,
Yeah.
so that's hard.
I had, we got called for a conference for Kenley when we lived in Texas. And I was the same way of like, I'm not an educator, right? But my mom is. So luckily I had my mom, and I had my mom go with me because I wasn't sure why we were having this conference, right? And they were trying to explain to me that Kenley needed to be held back.
Mm.
And my mom was like, I want to see her test papers.
Mhm.
And so my mom started going through everything and questioning the teacher and was like, no, you cut her off from the test. You did this. Like my mom knew what to say. And then at the end of the day, it turned out that the teacher was like, well, we feel like if she was back a year, she'd have a really good leadership opportunity. And I was like, I'm not holding my kid back for leadership skills, right? And, she's got a summer birthday. So sometimes they bring things up like that when they're little, right? Because they're like, well, they'd be better off, right? But I hear you. And like, if I wouldn't have had my mom there with me, knowing what to ask, knowing what to say, knowing how to request the information from the educator, because they have to give it to you if you request it. But if you don't know what you're requesting,
Yeah, if I don't even know what I'm
right?
looking at, the material
Exactly.
is irrelevant to me.
Exactly. And so if you don't have that situation, right, like where you can bring someone who is an educator in the field to help you navigate that conversation, like you do feel very lost, and it's not a good thing.
And I, because we have had to deal with it. I mean, what prompted his diagnosis to begin with was struggles in school, which I think is a common occurrence. I think that's what happens with a lot of kids, especially boys. And this notion of a 504 came up a few years ago, and we didn't. And it was because I have this fear of my child being judged before he's even met.
Right.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. This might be a really silly concern to, to educators who know the ins and outs more. This might sound ridiculous, right? But to me as a parent, my thought was, if he has paperwork that follows him throughout, his life in school, the teacher gets a packet about him before he or she even has the first school day with him. And I would never want someone to go, oh gosh, if I, here are these accommodations I've got to do. They're stressed. They have huge classrooms. They have a lot to do. They've got 25 kids or whatever it is to teach. And then they've got to make these accommodations. Like I don't want them to go, oh, here's another one, like he's capable, and I don't want them to not challenge him and stuff like that. So, but I think we are going to go ahead and do a 504 just because we need it.
Here's the thing. Look at it from the perspective of it enables the teacher to know how to work with him that much better. You are going to run into teachers that are going to look at it a certain way because that's humans, and every teacher is different, right? I've had a ton of teachers with both my oldest two boys, right? We've had some amazing ones. Our middle child's kindergarten teacher, the first one was terrible. Now he was going through a lot of things personally. His parents got divorced, and so like I came in at the tail end of that. So it was a whole year for him. So we held him back, and it was the best thing we could have done for him, quite frankly. But also all teachers are different. They're not built the same. Not saying that any of them are worse or better, but they handle things differently. So having that plan just like allows the teacher to know this is how Rowan Best will react to these specific things. Here is how we can help him be his best self. So try not to look at it as a bad thing. Although I do see where you're coming from.
Yeah. I mean, I think most parents just want to do a really great job. And I think speaking for the two of us, right, as his parents, we're just putting an unreasonable amount of pressure on ourselves. Like I was talking to my mom about it. She was like, you have to stop, like give yourself a little bit of grace. So I keep telling myself, I'm like, he's going to have something to tell his therapist about how we mess up no matter how hard we try.
Look, you're great parents. And I think every set of good parents really needs to hear it. I know Rachel and I have talked about this before. It's like, sometimes you just really need one of your friends to send you a meme that says like, hey mom, I see you and you're killing it. Like, I know your kid screamed at you this morning. I know that they had a nuclear meltdown when they got out of the car, but that's not your fault and everything's going to be okay. Because I think most parents, not all parents, but most parents really do just want their kids to be better than them. They want them to be the best version of themselves and feel loved and in a safe space and all those things. And it's hard. It is so
Mhm.
hard. So yeah, give
Shout
yourself some
out to
grace.
the Gen X parents and any generations before, because trying to find resources and help for neurodivergent children
Mhm.
is still terrible,
Yep.
let alone what it must have been like 30, 40, however many years ago.
Well, and also proving that your child was neurodivergent. I mean,
Mhm.
that's another thing is a lot of people and a lot of people got held back for bad reasons or just misunderstandings, right? Because just as we say, like, there's not necessarily a good or bad teacher, there are good and bad matches, right?
Mhm.
Like, and I can help you better. It's just like managers in a career place, right? The manager you get, you may not gel with, right?
Mhm.
You may need somebody different. You may communicate differently, right? And it's the same thing when we're talking about messages at work, right? I can't just talk to you about something. Sometimes people need to actually see it in action. Sometimes people need visuals to help them learn, right? And that whole conversation, I think it's interesting because we now do it better at school, but when it comes to the workplace, sometimes we still fall very flat because we just expect everybody to, oh, well, I said it, you didn't get it, right? Or,
Mhm.
that kind of same principle. And I am so sorry. I am trying to be serious, but there is a stupid fly flying around me and he's landed on my microphone 3 times. So if you hear something crazy,
I
that is
had
what is
one too.
happening.
I had
I know.
one
I'm
too.
The
like,
fly.
I'm trying not to swap myself,
It's
trying to
like they
get this
got a
thing to go
memo
away.
at the same time.
It's
Oh,
that time of year in the South
yeah.
when flies
Oh.
are insane.
I need patio weather. I'm sick of it, and I don't
Mhm.
care that it's the end of August. I have my fall stuff out. I'm trying to, what is it? Like,
Same.
I'm
Summon it. You're
willing
trying to
it to come.
summon
Mhm.
fall.
Mhm.
Yes.
Next
Maybe
week
if
it's
I
going to be
smell the
nice.
spice. Yeah, I
Next week
heard
it's going to
that.
be like mid 70s, so
I
it's going to be
know.
nice.
I'm all for it. I got my pumpkins out too. I did the fall decor. These flies did not get the memo.
I haven't done it yet. I have to wait till September. That's just a rule.
I also know that we have talked about rec football on this podcast before, and I would just like to say it has not changed. They're still wild in these streets. It
Wow.
is wild. It's some dedication. Can I tell y'all the schedule?
You're in the South, honey. That's the
Ooh.
key. When you are in the South, it's like, hey, you're only 7 years old. Cool. We're only going to practice you 6 times a week and for 3 hours on Saturday afternoon.
Practicing 3 times a week, multiple games in a day, games every Saturday, sometimes random ad hoc practices outside of regularly scheduled practices, which is what we had last night. And you try being the parent that's like, no, son, I know they all talked about that ad hoc practice, but we're not going. I mean, devastation. So,
Well, and it's also counterintuitive to parenting when you're like, you got to be the best. You got to practice. You got to do things. And then you're like, but yeah, you can't go to that one.
Right. I'm tired. You can't go to that
Right.
practice. I need a
Right.
break.
but we've also talked on this show about boundaries, y'all.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I have a family to run that it's not just football. Okay. So if I have a schedule that I know about, I have now planned all the other things it takes to keep this family in order and this house in order around that schedule. You can't just be throwing
No,
stuff
don't
on
talk.
me like,
Don't talk to me about schedules.
mm,
Sore subject at the moment. Because, yeah,
ugh.
last minutes, like things come up, right? But, oh, mm-mm, mm-mm.
Speaking
It's
of
hard.
schedule,
It's hard to, it's not about necessarily routine, right? But it's
mhm.
like when you meal plan, when
Yeah.
you take on things throughout the week, like you've agreed that, oh, we're going to go to this HOA meeting, or, oh, we're going to
Mhm.
go to curriculum night, or, when you start adding things in that you don't typically add in, but you added them in because your schedule was okay. And then something happens to disrupt the schedule.
When
It's
it's so
like,
tight, you don't have room
right,
for that kind of thing to pop up without things crumbling. I had a
right.
full blown, what are the kids calling it? Minty bee the other
A
night.
minty bee.
A
Love it.
minty bee.
Is
A
that like
mental
a
breakdown.
Mentos? Oh,
Like a mental
Like a
breakdown.
breakdown.
okay. I'm sorry.
Wait, what is it you said, Cassandra? We need like a decoder ring.
Yes. A decoder ring for all the phrases.
I just felt an immense, like, I'm one of those people, I just go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very task oriented. I'm very goal oriented. I love having a lot going on, but I hate having a lot going on, right? Like, I thrive on having things I need to achieve. So I take on more than I should. And then when I trip up or whatever it is, I just compartmentalize and keep going. Like, I don't stop and dwell in it, because in my mind, maybe it's a trauma response, that does no good, right? Like, I can't go back and change that trip that just happened. So learn from that and move on. But then it's like at some point it all really sets in. And that's basically what happened the other night between the HOA board, the sports, the school, the teacher meeting, the meal prepping, the trying to fit in working out, raising two, you guys know. It just hit me, and it was not good. It was an ugly cry.
Well, and the problem is too, a lot of times in that situation, you sacrifice the you time, right? Because you're the mom and you're like, no, I got to keep it together. I got to get this done. Like, I got to be who I got to be. And then when you sacrifice that you time, you pay for it later. And you always do. You may not realize it at the time, but you always pay for that later. And it's not worth it. But it's hard not to end up there. It's hard to hold the boundary, to hold the
Right.
line, and to really, set that example.
Yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things where you, to your point about like sacrificing the you time, the you time could be anything, right? And it's not that I need to get away necessarily. It's not that I need to be alone. The other day I kind of had a minty bee just a little bit. I was just kind of in a mood, and I was like, I don't know why I'm just so ill, for lack of a better word, at everybody. And I literally went in the morning to the farmer's market. I bought vegetables. I came home. I did my work day. After work, I started cooking. I cooked for 2 straight hours. I cooked this big Southern meal with cream corn and homemade biscuits and all this food that I didn't quite frankly need to eat because it's all fattening and, terrible for you. And it was delicious. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm still eating some of the leftovers now, but it was the fact that I got to take that time for myself. I got to actually do something I enjoy. I love to feed people. That's like my thing. I felt so much better afterward. So it actually can be something that needs to be done anyway that's productive. But if it's something you enjoy, it can still like fill your tank, because I get there too. I press everything down and everything's fine. Oh, it's fine. And then I explode and I cry for an hour and then it's better. But you don't need to do that. Like, we need to focus more on not letting it get to that point. And I don't know really how to do that. So if anyone's got tips.
Well, you and I have talked about this before because we're very similar in this way. My identity, which we could spend hours talking about how this self-identity was formed in early childhood, because I've got some thoughts there too. My identity is being the fixer, being the person that can help you do the thing, can figure out how to do the thing, like whatever it is, I'm capable, period. Come to me, I got it. And so that's where all the pressure and stuff comes from. And then, but thank goodness I have a supportive, like, I still don't, we've said this before, I don't know how single parents do it, or single people who have a lot going on with anything, because my wife was like, listen, like, I ugly cried, and I'm sure she was just like, I don't even know what to do, and she said, I'm going to take both of the kids to his football practice. You just go take a bath or something. And I was like, bless you. So I just literally sat in my own soup, or laid in my own soup, whatever you do in a bath, and scrolled TikTok. I doom scrolled for an hour until the water got cold. And it was glorious, because I went from like sad crying to laugh crying from these amazing TikToks that came up. So my mood was like night and day different when they got home. Right. I was a better parent.
Well, and that translates to work. And honestly, I'm probably worse about being the fixer at work than I even am at home, because I want to be that person that someone comes and asks me a question. I don't want to have to go ask somebody else. I don't want to tell them to go talk to somebody else. If I know the answer, I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to tell you the thing. But all that does is breeds that person's memory to say, oh, the last time I had this problem, I just called Cassandra. So the next time I have this problem, I'm just going to call Cassandra. Then everybody's just calling Cassandra, and Cassandra's already got a full-time job, plus trying to fix everybody else's problems. So there is a lot to be said for delegation, both at home and at work, to say, look, I can't be everything to everybody. I really need to pass the baton to someone else who can do just as good of a job. Like, here, ping this person. They will also have the answer for you.
Well, the challenge with that is that assumes that you have a high performing organization, right? And
Yeah.
that's where it makes it really hard for people, right? It's easy to say, I don't need to be the fixer if you have someone you can pass the baton to.
If you have a team you can trust.
Right. When you don't
Mhm.
have that, right? Or like, I can never trust this team. It's never going to happen, right? Then you have to be the fixer, right? And then you take on this situation of more because there's this whole notion built in that, you want to do a good job. And you're not doing a good job if you set somebody up for an experience is going to be bad, right?
Mhm.
Or then you start giving caveats when you tell people to go to people. So then they don't go because, well, you caveated that they're probably not going to get what they want. And it's just that whole cycle that becomes really hard to break when you don't have the power or authority to change the situation. It's a very interesting spot to be in at work.
Mhm.
And that's a bad spot to be for a high performer, to be surrounded by a team that's not as high performing. You do end up picking up a ton of the slack and being that go-to person, and it is draining. And I've been that
And
person in an organization, and it's hard.
well, then you get
Well,
burnt out,
Yeah,
what
exactly. I'm no longer there for reasons.
right?
That's
well, I was
horrible.
going to say, in a perfect world, right? Like, if you have communicated these things, like, there's only so much that's going to be in your purview, your control, in the role that you're in at that organization. So then, if it's more systemic than that, and you've communicated some of the root challenges to the rest of the leaders in your org or your leader, and change isn't happening, ideally you do just move on and you find an organization that is putting more emphasis on fixing those things. But the problem now is we're back in a market where finding those roles is hard. People are having to just stick it out and be miserable and be exhausted because what do they do? Where do they go?
Well, and as you get into leadership roles, it becomes much harder, right? Like back when you were like when I was just a Salesforce administrator, well, you could literally find 15 other jobs, right, that were making the same that I was making
Mhm.
before, right? So when you get into a leadership role and you're at that next level, you do have limited number of opportunities, right? Like, so if you're completely unhappy, it may be a long time before you can find a right fit to move on. And that is really a hard place to be.
And how do you adequately articulate on a resume just how much of a utility player you really are?
Right.
I mean,
Well,
'cause
and how much does that then hurt you? Because the flip
Right.
side of that, right, is like if you're commanding a certain price, let's say you're commanding $2, right, and the market says it's only worth $1, you've got to prove how special you are to get the $2. But if you start saying, well, I'm a Swiss Army knife, I'm this, I'm that, all of a sudden you're not a specialist, you're a generalist. And then the flip side hurts you. So it's that delicate balance of
Mhm.
conversation of how special do I need to be versus how helpful do I need to be in order to truly command the price I believe I'm worth and the market should recognize me at, right? Versus, being the receptionist at the front desk that helps everybody and everybody likes, but is never going to be the millionaire.
Right.
Mhm. Yep.
But then also, are you setting yourself up for just a future failure if you also go in and you're saying, I'm the Swiss Army knife, I can do it all? Are you really just setting yourself up for being exhausted at the next place too?
That's
Right? Like,
true.
see, yeah. It's a
That's
It's
hard
all
true.
place.
about too, like, I got this notion the other day when my chiropractor texted me. This is a fun one. And was like, "We haven't seen you in a while." And my initial response, it was going through my head, was like, I need to tell them why they haven't seen me. And then it was like, no, I don't. Like,
Mm-mm.
that's not
No.
actually a thing. Like, you don't have to explain yourself. But I feel like in those situations, in interview situations, right? Like, you sometimes feel the need to over explain
Yeah.
when that's not actually what you have to do. And then it comes back and hurts you, right? And then you're like stuck in this situation where, well, now I'm here, right? Or you set this expectation in an interview, like I can come in and I can solve this, but you didn't really know how blankety blink it was. And now that you found out, you realize you can't. And so now what situation are you in, right? And so it's a very yeah, not a fun boat.
I think everybody just has to figure out what their own like hard lines are, because I was having a conversation with an old coworker the other day, and he said something to me that like he reframed it for me in a way I hadn't thought about, and it really shifted things for me. He said, at some point you just reach, not everybody, right? Like this is a generalization, but this was his belief, and I agree. At some age and at some point in your career, or maybe it's just a season, depending on what's going on in other parts of your life, you really just do want a role where you feel valued and you can make a decent living and the benefits are not terrible. And that's it. Like, you don't need the flashiest thing. You don't need to align with the organization on every single thing they're trying to do. Like, it's kind of like picking a church. How people say when you pick a church, you're not gonna, I don't go to church. I've heard people say this, but you're not going to agree with everything they teach or every interpretation. There are going to be some things you don't align on. You have to find where you align the most, and you can be okay with the parts you don't align on. It's like that with your employer. And I was like, that's a really good point. Like there's something to be said, especially in this market, for just being like 80% happy. Because not everybody can say that. And the grass is not always greener. So
I met with a gentleman today, and he said the grass is only green where you water it.
exactly.
So maybe all you need is water.
Mm-hmm. It's very true. And that applies back to the whole home life thing too.
We are just circling it back, man. It's an
Marriage-
infinity loop today.
Marriages, relationships, it's all the same. But I feel like this whole concept of like being able to have it all, maybe we've talked about this before too, but like that is just not a thing. You're not actually having it all at the exact same time. If I'm killing it at work, I am really what's the word? Neglecting things.
Well,
in my
something
home
is
life.
always going to struggle, right? Like
Right.
there's going to be you're never going to have every single thing all firing on all cylinders at the exact same time. Like if you're killing it at work, maybe you are killing it at home, but then your kid goes off and does something that then turns everything upside down. Like
Mhm.
there is always going to be something that's not performing 110%, right? Like there's always going to be something that falls a
To
little bit by
take
the
more in
wayside.
one area, you have to compromise. I mean, you want to go train in a new field or go back to school, you're going to have to sacrifice your lifestyle, take a pay cut, maybe whatever, not take the trips,
Yeah.
not have it. You want to, have more time with your family. You're not necessarily going to have that really high demand job that, sounded great on paper and you made a lot of money, or
Yeah. It's that reminder that there's only 24 hours in a day. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how you spend them. There's only 24.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the only day in your life that there is not 24 hours in a day of your life. Remember that part? Is the day you were born.
Oh yeah.
Every other day of your life, there are 24 hours. I asked about the dead day, but
I was
apparently
gonna
they
say
were like, that's the day
very
you
morbid.
died. Well, they were like, that's the day you died. So then it doesn't
So it's
count.
not your life. Doesn't
Right.
count.
It's not your
Oh, okay.
life. Because it ended at that point. Yeah, I know. Needs an explanation. But it's a good way to look at it. There's only 24 hours. So how do you divide them? And at some point you have to sleep, right? And
Yep.
there's that.
And some days you want to sleep more. Like some days it's like I just need to crash for like a straight 12 hours and no one bother me, which when you have kids, that's not a thing. I don't know. These parents who are like, oh, my kids sleep till noon. Congratulations. What are you doing to these children? Because mine, it doesn't matter if he goes to bed at 9 p.m. or 2 a.m. At 6 o'clock in the morning, he's awake, ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Raring to go.
Even my teenager's still up by like 8.
I'm really shocked
weekend.
with her being a teenager. I used to sleep till noon.
I did, but I
At
didn't go
her
to bed till
age.
like 4 a.m. So there's
That's
that.
true.
She will not go to bed. She'll go to bed late. It's still the same thing. I don't know.
Completely off topic. We're going to Dreamforce in October, and I am finally going to get my Alcatraz tour.
Oh, that's right. She is.
Oh, I'm so excited. We're going on a night tour. I've been to San Francisco. I'm not sure how many times now. several.
A
And
lot.
every time I've had the goal of going on that tour, and it has not happened for one reason or another every time.
I've gone on the day tour and it is creepy and dark and like the air is wet feeling and it just feels
Ugh.
like you can feel it, and you'll see when you go, you can just feel the like
Yeah.
oppressive energy in that place. So I'm
Yeah.
very interested that you've signed us up for a night tour. Thanks, Jeremy. Let's see what happens.
Well, I hope to see you both on the other side because I am not going to Dreamforce. So you ladies have fun, and yeah, maybe you should record some video footage while you're in the crazy place, and we can add that to the episode after. Which, to be fair to everyone listening, that is not until October, so you got some time.
Couple months away.
Yeah.
And
it's
if
a little
anybody
bit.
that actually listens to our podcast or is going to Dreamforce and wants to like see us in person, we'll be there. At least Jeremy
Oh,
and I will.
yeah.
So
Shoot us a
that'd be
message.
cool.
We're trying to get some stickers made, some show stickers to pass out. So maybe some
We need
some
to
other
grow
stuff
our
too.
audience.
I don't know.
We
That'll
need
be
little
fun.
coffee cups.
The irony just hit me that I complained for a majority of this podcast about how busy I am, and here we are doing this podcast. That was like our own fault. Like we wanted to.
But this is such a decompression
Yes, it
time,
is.
and like I am always happier after we finish recording, right? Like I just always feel like, hey, I'm not in this thing alone. There are other people out there that suffer the same, issues as me or have the same problems, and it's nice to commiserate and just chat and
This is me time.
me time.
Absolutely. And if you feel that way, please send us your advice on how you have your me time. If this is your me time by listening to us and you have something you'd want us to talk about, or if you want to come join us, we're always happy to have people join us. We're going to have an episode coming out soon with our first guest on the episode. So stay tuned for that. But if you want to join us, you're more than welcome. Drop us a line and we'll be happy to get you on and hear what you have to say. So with that, Jeremy, you want to take us home?
Thank you guys for tuning in. Please follow us on socials at Coffee Meets Cloud or visit the website at coffeemeetscloud.com. And we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.